Every single day, I bring you another unforgettable story from Hollywood's golden age, the moments that built an era no one can ever forget. If you love keeping these memories alive, hit that subscribe button. It's totally free, but it means everything. Thank you for being here, because today, at 93, Angie Dickinson is finally breaking her silence about Robert Redford. And wow, her story hits harder than anyone expected. Born Angeline Brown on September 30th, 1931, in the quiet little town of Coombe, North Dakota, Angie came from humble beginnings and turned herself into one of the most captivating women Hollywood had ever seen. Her small-town childhood might have seemed far from fame, but that simplicity gave her the strength and spark that would one day light up the big screen. She grew up under the roof of Frederica and Leo Henry Brown, a hard-working German-American couple who weathered the storm of the Great Depression together. Life wasn't easy, money was tight, and dreams were even tighter. But Angie's determination was something fierce. Those years of grit molded her into a woman who didn't back down, no matter how tough things got. When the Browns eventually packed up and moved to Burbank, California, Angie's world changed forever. She attended Immaculate Heart College and later Glendale College, where her confidence and charm drew attention everywhere she went. People couldn't help but notice that she had it, that rare kind of presence that can't be taught or faked. At first, Angie thought she'd spend her life behind the scenes, maybe writing stories or working quietly in production. But fate had something much bigger waiting for her. In the early 1950s, she decided to enter a local beauty pageant, and that single move flipped her whole life upside down. Casting directors instantly took notice of her smoky voice, fierce eyes, and undeniable magnetism. They knew they were looking at a future star. Soon, she started landing small but unforgettable TV and film roles. And every time she showed up, she stole the spotlight without even trying. Angie was hustling hard, appearing in popular anthology shows and westerns that were dominating screens across America. By the mid-1950s, she was already sharing scenes with Hollywood heavyweights, sharpening her craft and learning from the best in the business. Then came the big explosion, her breakout role in Howard Hawks' 1959 Western classic Rio Bravo. There she was, standing tall next to John Wayne, Dean Martin, and Ricky Nelson, playing Feathers, the bold yet tender saloon girl who stole every scene she was in. That performance didn't just make her a star, it made her a legend. Audiences were mesmerized by her charm, and suddenly, everyone in Hollywood wanted to work with her. By the 1960s, Angie Dickinson wasn't just acting, she was running the show. She became one of the most in-demand actresses in town, gliding effortlessly from westerns to crime thrillers to glamorous romances that left viewers breathless. Critics couldn't stop praising her for how real she made every character feel, while audiences adored her mix of beauty, intelligence, and fierce emotional power. Angie wasn't just part of Hollywood's golden age, she was shaping it with every move she made. Some of Angie Dickinson's most unforgettable work lit up the screen in Ocean's 11, 1960, alongside Frank Sinatra and the legendary Rat Pack. Talk about Hollywood royalty in one movie. That film, along with a string of intense thrillers and heartfelt dramas, showed that Angie could mix strength, class, and charm like no one else. Beyond acting, she became a full-blown Hollywood-style icon. Her confidence, her poise, her fashion sense, everything about her screamed star power. She wasn't just admired, she was idolized. Every magazine cover she graced, every red carpet she walked, Angie turned heads and inspired a whole generation of women who saw her as the definition of fearless elegance. By the late 1960s and into the 1970s, Angie had cemented her place as one of Hollywood's most powerful names. She wasn't just working with big stars, she was one. Her appearance in Ocean's 11 kept drawing new fans, all captivated by her mix of glamour and cool confidence. Angie had that rare kind of charm that made people stop and watch, no matter who she shared the screen with. Her film list just kept getting hotter. The Killers, 1964, Point Blank, 1967, and Big Bad Mama, 1974, all showed different shades of who she was as a performer. She wasn't afraid to take risks. She dove headfirst into daring roles that most actresses back then wouldn't even consider. These projects revealed her fearless side, proving that Angie could bring toughness and beauty together without ever losing that electric energy that made her unforgettable. Angie's presence on screen was something you couldn't ignore. Bold, magnetic, and dripping with style. Then came the role that changed everything. In 1974, she took on the groundbreaking character of Sergeant Suzanne Pepper Anderson in the hit TV series Policewoman, and wow, did she own it. From 1974 to 1978, Angie ruled television with a role that flipped the script on what women could do in a cop drama. This wasn't just another show, it was history in the making. Pepper Anderson was no sidekick. She was the star, the brains, and the heart of the action. Angie brought her to life with style, strength, and that signature cool confidence that made people tune in week after week. She made Pepper feel real, smart, tough, but still human, and viewers loved every second of it. Critics praised her performance, and suddenly, Hollywood couldn't deny it anymore. Angie Dickinson had changed the game for women on screen. Her work on Policewoman earned her Golden Globe nominations and even wins, turning her into a symbol of empowerment for women who saw in her the strength and independence they wanted for themselves. Angie proved that age didn't define her, talent did. Even after Policewoman, she kept landing roles that showed her depth and drive, refusing to fade away in an industry that often tried to push mature actresses out. In 1980, she shocked critics again with Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill, where she played a lonely housewife wrapped in mystery and emotion. The performance was raw, vulnerable, and powerful, the kind that reminded everyone that Angie wasn't just glamorous, she could act with soul and fire. Through the 1980s and 1990s, Angie kept moving forward, choosing roles that challenged her and reflected her evolution as both a woman and a performer. She wasn't just surviving in Hollywood, she was thriving, proving again and again that true icons never fade, they only shine brighter with time. Angie Dickinson never played it safe, not in her career, and definitely not in her personal life. She chose roles that had real depth, emotion, and challenge, giving her the space to grow in an industry that only rewards those who stay bold and relevant. And just like her on-screen characters, Angie's real life was packed with twists, heartbreaks, and triumphs that shaped her into the powerhouse woman she became. Her first marriage came in 1952, when she tied the knot with Gene Dickinson, a college football star with that classic clean-cut, all-American image everyone admired. After his days on the field, Gene made a smart move into the booming post-war electronics business, where opportunity was exploding. On paper, they seemed like the perfect couple, beauty and brains, Hollywood and home life. But the spark didn't last forever. They separated in 1956 and officially divorced in 1960, showing that their paths had drifted apart long before the ink on the papers dried. Still, Gene left a lasting imprint on Angie's rise to fame. While she was just finding her footing in Hollywood, Gene offered support and stability in those uncertain early days. And even after their marriage ended, Angie made a powerful choice. She kept the Dickinson name. That decision was pure strategy, and it paid off big time. In a town where name recognition meant everything, Angie Dickinson had a ring to it that no one could forget. It gave her brand strength, identity, and class, a move that turned her into a Hollywood household name. During her marriage to Gene, Angie also stepped into a completely different social circle, one filled with sharp minds and powerful voices. She became close friends with the famous economist John Kenneth Galbraith and his wife Catherine, a couple deeply connected to the world of politics, culture, and international affairs. Hanging with the Galbraiths wasn't just about fancy dinners. It opened Angie's world to big conversations about global issues, art, and diplomacy. She wasn't just a movie star anymore. She was evolving into a woman of substance who could hold her own among intellectuals and world leaders. When John Kenneth Galbraith was appointed U.S. ambassador to India by President John F. Kennedy, Angie didn't just send her congratulations. She went to visit. Imagine that. Hollywood's glamorous leading lady walking through the streets of India, soaking in a world far removed from flashing cameras and movie premieres. That trip changed her deeply. Galbraith even mentioned her in his memoirs, Ambassador's Journal, and A Life in Our Times, proving how much respect and admiration he had for her. Angie wasn't just fitting in with the elite, she was standing out, showing that her intelligence and grace carried weight far beyond Hollywood's glow. Then, in 1965, Angie opened a brand new chapter of her story, one that had the entire entertainment world talking. She married the legendary composer and songwriter Burt Bacharach, a man whose music defined an era. Bert was already a powerhouse in the industry, crafting timeless hits that played everywhere from nightclubs to concert halls. When Angie and Bert came together, they instantly became one of the most glamorous couples of the decade, the perfect blend of Hollywood sparkle and musical genius. Their marriage lasted an impressive 16 years, practically a lifetime by Hollywood standards. But behind the glamour, it came with its fair share of heartbreak, misunderstandings, and emotional turns that few outsiders ever saw. Angie and Bert were both creative, ambitious souls, constantly pulled between fame and family. Even after their official split, the two found themselves drawn back toward each other from time to time, proof that love in their world was never simple, always tangled with passion and pressure. Then came a moment that changed their lives forever. On July 12, 1966, Angie gave birth to their daughter, Nikki, a day filled with love, hope, and new beginnings. But soon, life took a more complicated path. From a young age, Nikki faced significant challenges due to autism, at a time when the world understood very little about it. There were few resources, almost no public awareness, and the journey ahead was hard. But Angie and Bert didn't walk away. They stepped up. They devoted themselves to caring for Nikki with everything they had, reshaping their lives to surround her with love, protection, and dignity at every step. Nikki's journey wasn't easy. It demanded strength most people can't imagine. Angie became her fiercest defender, speaking up whenever her daughter needed her and fighting for understanding in a world that often didn't listen. But tragedy struck in 2007 when Nikki passed away at just 40 years old. The loss shattered both Angie and Bert. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was a wound that time couldn't easily heal. Angie carried that grief quietly, but with grace, always keeping Nikki's memory alive through her advocacy and compassion for others facing the same struggles. After Nikki's passing, Angie made it her mission to raise awareness for those living with autism, turning her pain into purpose. Her resilience inspired many. She stood strong, elegant, and grounded, even through unimaginable sorrow. Bert, meanwhile, continued creating timeless music that defined generations. His melodies became part of history, shaping pop culture for decades. Even after their marriage ended, the bond they once shared lingered in respect and mutual admiration. When Bert passed away in 2023 at age 94, the world mourned a music legend whose legacy had touched millions of hearts. For Angie, her two marriages, first to Angie Dickinson, then to Burt Bacharach, and her role as a mother to Nikki were more than life chapters. They were the core of her story. Behind the red carpets and flashing lights was a woman who lived with love, loss, courage, and quiet resilience. She faced life's hardest blows but never lost her spark, the same spark that made her one of Hollywood's most magnetic women. Now, at 93, Angie Dickinson has lived through nearly a century of Hollywood's brightest glories and darkest shadows. But recently, she made headlines once more, this time for finally speaking out about a man who shared a deep, hidden chapter of her life, Robert Redford. Fans had been waiting decades to hear her truth, and when she finally broke her silence, it hit like a wave of nostalgia and heartbreak. On September 16, 2025, the world awoke to devastating news. Robert Redford, the legendary actor, director, and visionary behind the Sundance Film Festival, had passed away peacefully at his home in Sundance, Utah. He was 89. Hollywood froze for a moment. His death didn't just mark the end of an era, it stirred memories of films, ideals, and artistry that shaped generations. Redford's influence reached far beyond the screen. He was a symbol of integrity, independence, and quiet charisma. But for Angie Dickinson, Redford's passing wasn't just another Hollywood loss. It was deeply personal. The connection they shared ran far deeper than most ever realized. Over the years, they crossed paths again and again, sometimes as colleagues, sometimes as quiet admirers watching each other from across the room. Their bond was built on mutual respect, understanding, and a timeless affection that didn't need to be spoken out loud. When asked what Robert Redford's passing meant to her, Angie took a long pause, the kind of silence that says more than words ever could. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm but heavy with decades of memories. Robert was one of those rare men in Hollywood, she said, her tone steady but full of emotion. He wasn't just handsome, that part everyone could see, but he had integrity, and in this town, that's not always easy to find. She went on to explain that Redford carried himself differently from most stars. He wasn't loud, he wasn't showy, His confidence came from a quiet kind of strength. He believed in doing things his way and never let the studios or the press twist him into something fake. That kind of independence struck a chord with Angie. After all, she had built her own career by breaking past Hollywood's tight boxes for women, proving she was more than just a pretty face. So, seeing Redford move through that same system with authenticity, it meant something deep and personal to her. Angie's eyes lit up as she thought back to the early 1960s, when both of them were still fighting for their place in the spotlight. "I remember seeing him when he was still this young, almost shy actor," she recalled. "He wasn't the Robert Redford the world would later fall in love with, but even then, he had that spark. You could feel it the moment he walked into a room. You just knew he was destined for something big." At that time, Angie was already on the rise, earning her own recognition, but she noticed something rare in Redford: humility. He wasn't trying to dominate the room, even though everyone noticed him. His golden boy looks and quiet charm turned heads wherever he went, but he carried himself with grace. Angie said that kind of attitude stayed with her. It showed that fame didn't have to change a person's soul. As she kept talking, her honesty cut through the nostalgia. "I'll be real," she admitted. Sometimes it was frustrating. Her words carried both truth and pride. Robert had opportunities women just didn't get back then. He could be rugged, he could be romantic, he could be political, and people still took him seriously in every role. But for women, it wasn't that simple. We had to fight twice as hard just to be respected. There was no bitterness in her tone, just honesty, the kind that only comes from living through it all. Angie wanted people to understand the truth of that era, but she also made sure to give Redford his due. "He always respected the women he worked with," she said firmly. "He never treated us like decorations. He listened. That meant a lot." Her words hit with quiet power. You could hear the weight of everything she'd been through in that voice. Angie had survived a Hollywood that didn't always play fair, especially for women. Yet, when she talked about Redford, there was warmth, even admiration. She remembered him as one of the few men who made space for women to be seen and heard in a time when that was anything but normal. She didn't stop there. Angie went on to speak passionately about Redford's activism and his heart for the world beyond Hollywood. She admired how he used his fame for something greater, his commitment to the environment, his efforts to support young filmmakers, and his vision behind the Sundance Film Festival. "He cared," she said softly. "He really cared about what came next, about the planet, about the people, about art." "Robert wasn't just about making movies," Angie said softly, her tone full of admiration. "He wanted to change the world, even if only a little. And he did." Through Sundance, Redford opened doors that Hollywood had long kept shut, giving young, hungry filmmakers a real shot when the big studios wouldn't even take their calls. He didn't just create a festival, he built a movement, a space where raw talent could shine without compromise. "That generosity, that vision," she said, pausing as her voice grew tender. "That's something I'll always admire." Then came the question, the one everyone had been secretly dying to ask for decades. Was there ever something deeper between Angie Dickinson and Robert Redford? The moment it was brought up, she flashed that famous half smile, the same one that had melted hearts since Rio Bravo. It was that knowing smile, the kind that said she had stories she'd never tell. "People always ask that," she laughed, a sparkle in her eyes. "Robert was the kind of man women adored, and I was no exception." But then she gave the answer that silenced the room. "The truth is, we never had a romance," she said honestly. "We respected each other. We enjoyed each other's company. But it was never that." Her words hung in the air, calm, graceful, and full of truth. "And maybe that's why our connection lasted as long as it did. No drama, no tangled history, just real friendship." Their bond was steady, clean, and built on mutual admiration, something rare in an industry where egos often got in the way. Still, Angie didn't shy away from acknowledging Redford's charm, and everyone knew he had plenty of it. She chuckled softly. He had that mix of boyishness and strength that was just irresistible. Even as time passed and the years left their mark, she said, he still carried that same spark in his eyes, that look that made you feel like you were the only one in the room. Angie smiled again, her words filled with warmth. That kind of presence can't be faked. It's rare, and he had it from day one. When the conversation turned to his passing, her voice softened again, layered with heartbreak and love. "It breaks my heart to know he's gone," she admitted quietly. You could feel how deeply she meant it, but there was also peace in her tone, because she knew he had gone on his own terms. "It comforts me to know he passed peacefully, in the home he built with his own hands, in Sundance," she said with a wistful smile. That place, it wasn't just where he lived, it was him. It held his spirit more than any Hollywood stage ever could. She looked down for a moment before adding, "That was his sanctuary, and I think that's exactly how he would have wanted it." Her voice carried a gentle certainty, like someone who truly understood the man behind the legend. After a quiet breath, Angie shared the lesson she'd carry forward from knowing him. Words that summed up not only her respect for Redford, but her own philosophy on life. "I'll miss him terribly," she said, her voice trembling just slightly. "But I'll also carry with me the lessons he left behind, that you can be successful and still be decent, you can be famous and still be private, and you can chase your dreams without ever forgetting where you came from." Her words were simple but powerful, soaked in truth, wisdom, and the kind of understanding that only comes from living a long, full life. For Angie Dickinson, Robert Redford wasn't just a Hollywood icon or a beautiful face on a movie poster. He was a real friend, a kindred soul, and a rare example of authenticity in an industry built on illusions. Their story wasn't one of scandal or secret love. It was one of respect, admiration, and two legends who quietly understood each other in a world that rarely values quiet at all. After reflecting on Robert Redford's life and the quiet friendship they shared, Angie Dickinson sat back, her eyes filled with a kind of peace that only comes with age and experience. She'd lived through Hollywood's golden lights, the chaos behind the curtain, and the heartbreaks that fame never shields you from. Yet somehow, she still carried herself with that same grace, that same spark that made her unforgettable all those years ago. In her later years, Angie rarely appeared in public, preferring the quiet of her home over the spotlight she once ruled. But when she did speak, like now, people listened. Her words carried the weight of history. She wasn't just reminiscing about a bygone era, she was preserving it. Each story she told was like opening a time capsule, a glimpse into a world of real glamour, where talent mattered more than filters and fame was something you earned. Talking about Redford reminded her of how fleeting it all could be. The fame, the cameras, the noise. "In the end," she said softly, "what stays with you are the people who were real, the ones who stood by you when the lights went out." That truth hit hard because Angie knew it better than anyone. She'd seen the highs, the premieres, the awards, the applause, and the lows, the loneliness, the heartbreak, the losses no one else could understand. Yet through it all, she stayed true to herself. She spoke about how Redford's passing felt like the closing of a chapter in Hollywood's story, a time when stars carried mystery, when they didn't have to share every piece of their lives to feel seen. "Robert never chased fame," she said, her voice thoughtful. "He chased purpose, and that's what made him shine." Her admiration wasn't about nostalgia. It was about recognizing someone who lived honestly in a world that often rewarded the opposite. Angie smiled as she remembered their last conversation. Private, warm, and filled with laughter about the old days. She didn't share what was said, but the way her eyes softened made it clear it meant everything to her. "He had this way of making you feel grounded," she whispered. "Like no matter how crazy things got, you could still find peace in simple things." As she spoke, you could almost feel the past coming alive. The glittering premieres, the smoky Hollywood lounges, the kind of star power that doesn't exist anymore. But more than that, you could feel her gratitude. Gratitude for the people she met, the lessons she learned, and the love she gave and received, even when life wasn't easy. In many ways, Angie Dickinson's story is more than Hollywood history. It's a lesson in resilience, in living boldly and aging with grace. She showed that fame fades, but character lasts forever. And as the lights dim on one more unforgettable story from the Golden Age, her words linger like a final toast to those who made it all possible, the dreamers, the artists, and the icons who refused to be ordinary. So, if you loved hearing Angie Dickinson's story and her heartfelt memories of Robert Redford, Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment about your favorite Angie or Redford moment. I'll be back soon with another hidden gem from Hollywood's golden past. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.